The Golden State Killer, the Unabomber, Ted Bundy, names that send chills down your spine. But in the mid-1970s, another monster lurked in San Francisco, targeting the city's gay community, and yet most people have never heard of him. His name? The Doodler, a serial killer responsible for possibly as many murders as the Zodiac Killer. But this case? It went cold for almost 50 years, leaving a trail of terror, fear, and injustice. This is the haunting story of the Doodler and the victims who were never truly given justice. In today's episode on BloodSpot, we dive into the mystery of the Doodler, a killer who left sketches and bodies behind and is still out there somewhere. If you're obsessed with true crime, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you never miss a chilling episode. Let's set the stage. The early 1970s saw a new chapter for LGBTQ+ rights following the gay liberation movement. People from all over the world flooded to San Francisco, seeing it as a safe haven where their identities could finally be accepted. But behind the freedom of the Castro and the city's bustling nightlife was a police department that still viewed the LGBTQ+ community with suspicion, if not outright hostility. With a conservative, homophobic police force regularly raiding clubs, harassing patrons, and turning a blind eye to hate crimes, reporting violence against the LGBTQ+ community was almost unheard of. Crimes such as muggings, beatings, and even sexual assaults often went unreported. Why? Because victims feared the police as much as the attackers. In 1974 alone, 129 LGBTQ+ individuals were murdered in San Francisco. By 1975, that number had risen to 131. It was during this turbulent time that the Doodler struck, using the city's nightlife and seclusion to his advantage. On a quiet Sunday morning, January 27, 1974, the body of 49-year-old Gerald Cavanaugh was discovered at Ocean Beach, located near the sprawling Golden Gate Park. Gerald had been stabbed multiple times, the injuries on his hands telling the tale of a man who fought fiercely for his life. Yet, like many victims during this time, there was little coverage in the press. His body, stripped of any identifying belongings, was initially categorized as a John Doe. Gerald worked at a mattress factory, lived a quiet life in the city, and notably, was never married. These clues pointed to his probable sexual orientation, but even in death, society at the time avoided addressing such details. This omission was not uncommon for LGBTQ+ victims. The coroner's report quietly acknowledged the truth without outright saying it. As for the police, they took biological samples, but little else was done. Gerald's death was written off as another act of random violence, a tragic yet all too familiar end for many LGBTQ+ individuals in San Francisco at that time. But this wasn't the last. Gerald's death was just the beginning. A mere 5 months later, in June 1974, 27-year-old Jae Stevens, a well-known drag performer, was found in the bushes near Spreckles Lake, not far from Gerald's final resting place. Jae, stabbed multiple times, had been brutally attacked. His murder bore striking similarities to Gerald's. Both had met violent ends in secluded areas, likely after meeting their killer in the city's vibrant nightlife scene. What made Jae's case even more haunting was the connection to Finocchio's, a historic drag club in San Francisco, where he had recently begun performing in a coveted summer slot. A performer known for his comedy and dramatic routines, Jae was deeply beloved by the LGBTQ+ community. But in death, he became yet another victim whose story was left largely untold by the media. Police noted Jae's abandoned car at the scene, leading investigators to speculate that he willingly went to Spreckles Lake with someone he trusted, or at least thought he could trust. The murders didn't stop there. On July 7, 1974, just weeks after Jae's death, the body of Klaus Christmann was found by a dog walker near Golden Gate Park. Klaus, a German national visiting friends in the city, was discovered with his throat nearly decapitated. A brutal killing that shocked even seasoned investigators. He had been stripped of identification, and eerily enough, his pants were unzipped. A tube of face paint found in his pocket suggested he may have been secretly involved in the drag scene, or perhaps it was just another tragic detail in a series of unsolved mysteries. Police now had a third victim, all connected by their proximity to the LGBTQ+ community and the violent nature of their deaths. But leads were scarce, and fear spread like wildfire. Whispers of a serial killer began to take hold, a killer targeting gay men, luring them in, possibly sketching their portraits, before ending their lives in a secluded corner of the city. They called him the Doodler, a man, witnesses claimed, who would sit at bars, sketching portraits of his would-be victims before luring them to their deaths. The killer was described as a slim, young black man, believed to be in his early 20s. Some survivors, lucky enough to escape with their lives, spoke of him offering a drink or a sketch, only for things to turn violent when they found themselves alone with him. But here's the twist. Despite these eyewitness accounts, the police never made a formal arrest. Why? Because those who survived, those who could identify him, were unwilling to testify. The fear of being outed as gay during a time when such a revelation could destroy their lives paralyzed them into silence. One man, a European diplomat, and another, a well-known entertainer, were among those who managed to escape the Doodler's blade. But their silence allowed him to continue. By 1975, police had connected 4 more deaths to the Doodler. Among them was Frederick Elmer Capon, a decorated Vietnam veteran and nurse. Found in the sand dunes south of Ocean Beach, Frederick had been dragged before being stabbed repeatedly. Like the other victims, he had likely met his killer at a gay bar or nightclub, unwittingly becoming another name on the ever-growing list of victims. Despite the composite sketch, the witness reports, and even a confession to a psychiatrist, the Doodler was never brought to justice. Police believed he may have killed up to 14 people, but the fear of being outed left potential witnesses in the shadows, allowing the killer to roam free. To this day, the Doodler remains one of San Francisco's darkest mysteries. The case has been reopened in recent years, with the police revisiting potential connections to other murders. They've even released an aged composite sketch of the man they believe is responsible. If still alive, the Doodler would be in his 60s. But for the families of those lost, and for a city still haunted by its past, justice remains elusive. The Doodler's victims may never receive the closure they deserve, and the secrets of those terrible nights may remain buried forever. If you have any information that could help bring closure to the victims of the Doodler, please contact the San Francisco Police Department. And don't forget to subscribe to BloodSpot for more true crime mysteries. Stay safe and stay curious.